Yeah, absolutely. And I love your approach there too. Is kind of like, obviously that we talked about this before you jumped on there, is just letting her speak, right? So you probably heard a
Yeah.
whole lot about her business. It's
Oh
like when
yeah.
you open a business owner up, they just love talking. And that's where you really connect. That's where you build that relationship. That's you see students already. I think Paige, you're one of them, right? Didn't you just do a deep dive today? Talk to me about that.
So the deep dive went really well. It was my first deep dive. And like you said, going through the 6 steps, there's so many things that you have to focus on. So it's getting the yes to screencast and then shooting the screencast and then follow up and then deep dive and then scope of work. So it's definitely a lot going on at once, but the deep dive went really well. I got to ask a lot of good questions, and she gave me a lot of insight into her business. She actually just launched it 6 weeks ago, and she's already made a bunch of revenue from it. So it's something that's very promising. She did bring up, though, that she built the site on Wix, and she's like, I'm going to assume that you have experience with Wix. You know Wix, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, definitely, 100%. 100%, but I know nothing about Wix. So I did want to ask a little bit about that, and like maybe if I could have someone help me that has experience with Wix.
Yeah. So Kelsey and his wife, and their last name's Altram. And by the way, you guys don't hear from them too often because they're doing too goddamn good with their business. But both of them know Wix really well, and so they're a brother or sister of yours. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you reached out and talked to them about it. They know it really, really well. But they told me that Wix is almost identical to Weebly, and so I don't think you're going to have a hard time. Calvin knows Wix as well. I don't think you'll have a hard time with Wix whatsoever. I think it might be buttons in different positions, but overall, the layout, the drag and drop functionality of it, etc., is going to be the same as Weebly. So as long as you have that training, you'll be able to cross-reference and jump over there and see what it's all about. So I don't think you're going to have a hard time with it, but I'm glad she's doing good. Did she ask you price, and how did you end that?
So she actually didn't ask me price. She mentioned not wanting to spend more on another platform, but she also said that she didn't want to get ahead of herself because she knew that eventually I would get to price. She didn't really ask too much on that. She told me that she wants to advertise, advertise, advertise. She just launched. She's been doing everything herself, by herself, 100% so far. And the business has pretty good potential, in my opinion. And she is thinking about franchising in the future. So right now, this is something that we can grow locally. And then she wants to move on to Orlando and Disney World. So a cool project there. She wants to work with Airbnb. She has a whole lot of good ideas herself. She's just looking for someone to, I guess, help her and direct her and figure out the best way to do everything. So she also started doing the Facebook ads and Google ads herself, but she has gotten more response from the Google ads and more customers converting from the Google ads. So I'm like, great. So, maybe SEO and optimizing your website will be great for you then, eventually down the line, we can take another look at the Facebook ads, and I can help you target your audience. I have a couple more tricks to go about doing that correctly. But for right now, it would probably be best to focus on building up your website, getting it ranked and seen in the correct places, and then growing and going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your approach there too. Is kind of like, obviously that we talked about this before you jumped on there, just letting her speak, right? So you probably heard a whole lot about her business. It's like when you open a business owner up, they just love talking. And that's where you really connect. That's where you build that relationship. That's where you really find out, can you help them with their why, right? Because they have a deep why of why they're really doing it. I've met business owners that it was never about the money in the first place. It was just about getting their product in the right hands to help people with like CBD products, et cetera. And you can always help in those scenarios. It's always one way or another. And here's the thing, like, yeah, she had some great ideas, but I'm telling you right now, with the tools you have, and the reason you got her on the phone is because you blew her away with your screencast, right? Was that your first screencast shot, or what number was that?
I can't even tell you what number that was because I did shoot so many within the past 48 hours. um, but I've definitely been mastering the art of screencast, and I can tell that I'm giving value to them, whether they choose to go with me or not. I already know that I've helped them out by sharing this information with them, going through their website, giving them a good idea of what's going on in the market and what they're doing right now. So she didn't question my abilities at all after that screencast.